Good evening, everybody. I am Gilly, and I am joined tonight by Smarty. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, could be worse. Mustn't
Get
grumble,
in
all of
there.
that shit.
Get in there. That's the one.
Mustn't grumble. I think this is likely to be quite a short one, I think, in terms of the normal Berardi and Cokes that we have. So this is where we're going to talk about what the fuck went wrong with Stoke.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
You look like fucking Brolin, you're a Leeds eating bastard.
Look like some sort of fucking weird floating head. No.
Utensil player a bit, innit?
I mean, I feel a bit right, dickhead.
Nothing spectacular, really.
Those
certainly
words
wasn't
at
last
the end
night.
Those
We need to
words at the end
change
of
it.
that introduction.
We need to change it, don't we? We need to sack it
We have
off, man.
talked about it. So let's ask a question of ourselves now. How do you feel? Just in general, how do you feel? Are you all right?
Regarding Leeds, or just do you actually mean just in
mean-
general?
I mean in general. I mean about Leeds. I mean about the fact that it's October and let's try not to lose our heads too much.
Do you know what, mate? I'm absolutely fine. I think there's been quite an overreaction to last night's defeat, and understandably, it wasn't the best of performances. Let's be honest, but I think I've still got that Premier League hangover. I think I've still got that little bit of a hangover from being relegated from the Premier League. I'm not absolutely 100% desperate to get back there just yet. So that when we don't see the performances or particularly going our way, I'm not too bothered about it, if I'm honest. I might be just me, maybe I'm just cynical, maybe I'm just an idiot, but at this moment in time, I still feel it's quite early in the season. It's a project. Facts still getting to know the team. The team's brand new. There's so many contributing factors. Sorry. There's loads of we could literally talk about it for hours, and we have done. That's why we do a podcast, because we like to interact with each other. We talk a lot of shit, but I mean, we're going to go into some depth. I'm guessing there's possibly a certain person that's going to get a little bit of stick tonight.
I think we have to go into some depth about it.
Yes,
I'm
we will
afraid.
definitely. But I think there's just been a massive overreaction. I've seen people calling Fark clueless. That is shit. Same for Pirro. Same for quite another few players, understandably. But I just think, generally speaking, I'm absolutely fine, and it's just these results are going to happen. The performances are going to happen. It's nothing to really think over too much. We probably deserve to lose the game on the whole because we weren't that good. It's not like we had a belting performance and got shithoused. We just weren't that good on the night. But how are you feeling? I'll ask you the same thing. How are you feeling about everything in life?
I mean, I'm all right. It's life happens, doesn't it? And but I think in terms of, I saw a question this morning of a friend of the pod, Lee Fryer, asking how everybody were feeling and whether they'd calm down or whatever. And I think I'm just when it comes to the football, I'm just a bit zen about things at the moment. I think it's a bit nobody gets promoted or relegated in October, and it doesn't matter how many points you've got in October. It matters how many points you've got at the end of the season. And I think there's always going to be a bit of variability. We're in that situation where we have a new squad, in effect, a squad that's actually in transition, where we've got some players that a lot of people are talking about need to be moved on, that Farker speaks highly of but isn't playing, and we're in that kind of transitional phase. We've got some young players as well, and wherever you've got young players and you're looking at the capability and output, then on a regular basis, you're not going to get that sustained capability coming out every time. And I think because of that, because there's so much context, because we came into the season not knowing what our squad were going to be, I think there's a lot of moving parts in this. I think to talk in general about tonight, unfortunately, we'll have to come onto some detail. Looking back, you can think, well, we got that wrong and that wrong and that wrong and that wrong. Ultimately, I think the side that was put out was good enough to do a job against Stoke, and I don't think it did. And I think that's what it comes down to is, it's a long old season, and we've got a squad now. And I've been one of those that in the past has been highly critical of our club for not building a squad and not having the right players coming in. We're in a situation where we do have a squad now. You look at the midfielders that we have, and we've got options that we haven't had before. And therefore, Farke needs to find a way to use them. And it felt like last night was a bit of the first foray into trying to leverage some of that squad and utilize some of the players that haven't been used. And we look at Gruev. A lot of people have been calling for him to play. Now we'll come on to the actual performance, but on paper, in advance of the game, you're thinking actually making some changes there, utilizing some of the numbers in the squad. That's the right thing to do because it is a long old season. That's kind of where I'm at the minute. So let's start. We can skate around it how we want, but we're going to have to talk about the match. Let's take the first half. I think if you listen to some of the comments from their gaffer, Alex Neil, I think he was right that they were on top in the first half and the goal just didn't come for them. Did you?
No, I totally agree. To be fair, I only saw the first half an hour of the first half because I fell asleep for the last 15 minutes. Brutally honest with you.
That's quite brave of you after some of the pelters you've had for saying before that you're not watched the game.
Yeah. I think that was a cup game on it, and I came on a Berardi and Coke like off cuff because no one else could, and I openly admitted I'd not actually seen the game, and some geezer on Apple or Spotify, I can't remember which one, give me some right shit. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry, won't do it anymore. I've lost it. I can't remember what question was. I've gone.
So Alex Neil said that in the first half they spent a long time on
asleep.
Top, but the goal just didn't come for them.
Yeah, I thought, to be fair, they've had a couple of decent results. They beat Sunderland. Did they beat Preston as well? I think they beat Preston as well of Stoke. They've had a couple of decent results against some good teams. You're gonna check this now, aren't you? I can see you're busy in a way there.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I know they definitely beat Sunderland. Preston, it might have been Preston, but they've had some shit results, but they've had some good results. Alex Neil is a good manager. I know that Bielsa didn't always get the best against Alex Neil. He knows how to set up against a good pressing team, and his counter pressing. Their pressing yesterday was very, very good. I thought, with a little bit more quality, like you say, their goal didn't come, but with a bit more quality, their team could be quite dangerous. But that's them. We're not them. Fuck them. I think we struggled to get in the game right from the very off. I mean, I expected them to kind of come at us for the first initial 20 minutes or so, which we tend to see, in most matches now. But then that 20-minute period kind of lapsed, and then I was thinking, right, we're going to have to get into this at some point, and we never seemed to get a foothold. We never seemed to get any sort of control. We didn't, we can talk about the implementation of other players. For me personally, I don't think he should ever change side. That's just how I feel. I understand that squad rotation is important, especially when you've got quite a congestion of fixtures or whatever, like we have this week. 3 games in 1 week's a hell of a lot of games, but you can always implement changes during the game. If you see a player that might be a bit leggy or whatever, and you want to make, some changes at half time or very early in the second half, any players should have enough energy to get a good half out of them. And I just think that the changes that he brought in, Gruev who's never started before, we haven't really seen a performance from him. I'm sure the lads at the training centre think he's absolutely brilliant, but we've not seen him. He's had a couple of cameo performances, 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there. Was it enough for him to start? I mean, he's got to start at some point. There's an argument for that. He's got to start at some point, but I just think, that the whole Archie Gray experiment, he seems to have struggled for a few weeks now at right back, and I just think that we need to put round pegs in round holes at the moment. I thought Nonto and Jayden Anthony were ineffective. I don't think they managed to get a good foothold in the game either. Nonto's just been injured. He's come back from injury, understandable. Jayden Anthony was usually quite good off and spriteful. He just didn't seem to. He didn't seem to get going, did he? Everything that he was trying to do didn't seem to pay off. And it goes with a few of the other attackers. We'd do something good, perhaps maybe, make a good pass, and then the receiver, whoever that might be, might make a mistake and it'll break down, and there was just no flow. The passing was sloppy. We looked maybe a bit lethargic. You can probably put it down to because it's a midweek game. I just thought, overall, we were just really poor, and Stoke took, good advantage of it. Oh, well, could have probably done more than take advantage. I mean, if they had a little bit more quality, like I say, we could have been put to the sword pretty early in the first half. But it swings and roundabouts, like I say. Hopefully we can put it to bed relatively quickly and concentrate on Saturday. But it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow because literally every single person thought we were going to go down there and absolutely smash them. Until one of our friends in one of our groups said, "Oh, put your mortgage on this." I won't name him. We're going to absolutely stuff them. I went, "Well, that's me sticking 10 quid on Stoke then." I wish I would have done. I didn't, but But yeah, it was just an all-round just bag of shit, wasn't it, really? We just were at the races. Similar to Southampton. Hopefully now we can use that as a bit of a springboard and say, look, this is what can happen if we don't get the selection right. If the players are feeling a little bit lethargic or whatever, it's just one of them. We're going to see more of these performances throughout the season. So, like I said, we're going over this again. But I'm not gonna sweat too much about that performance, I don't think.
No, that's fair, and you are right. I think we are going to see more of these because it was a very championship game. I think that's that's the point. It was a very championship game, and I think in that first half, I think it was sloppy. The passing wasn't as crisp as we've seen, but the touch was poor as well. And we've seen those players that have played, all right, Grove aside, but we've seen those players play well with each other, and be incisive with the passing and the touch and the movement. And I just didn't see it last night. And I think that was probably and I think that was probably one of the most disappointing things is that we know we can do a lot better than that. I think their setup, and I rate Ampadu highly. I didn't think he were very effective last night. But him and Gruev, we spoke before about who we expect to replace whom. And I think what we'd said from our four main midfielders, if we say that's Ampadu, Kamara, Gray, and Gruev, is we'd kind of expected Gruev to be the replacement for Ampadu and Kamara to be the replacement for Gray. And that means Gray and Kamara being a little bit further forward, a little bit more expansive. Now, I didn't really see Ampadu doing that, and that's not Gruev's game. So it was a bit strange to see them playing together, especially with Archie Gray on the pitch, especially when you're thinking, well, Shackleton's on the bench, and you know what, he's not somebody that massively pulls up trees, but Farke's spoken highly of him and he's capable of playing at fullback. So you're thinking, well, he's quick and he can handle anything that Stoke have got on the wings. Is it not a case, actually, that you get Shackleton in there and put Gray midfield if you're going to play Gray? I think if we look at the team selection, I think the number of changes that we made can lead to that sort of thing. We look over our long history.
Bit of a squad imbalance sort of thing.
Well, just if you look at our history in cups and just how abject that's been, and actually a lot of us over the time period where that's been the case have been going, do you know what, our focus has to be promotion, and therefore we're okay with chopping and changing it into cups. But then you go, well, actually, what you want to do is you want to carry through any impetus that you've got from performances in the league, and you don't want to give that away. And I think the thing to be cognizant of in all of that we've just said is how difficult it is to be a manager, because in hindsight, dead easy to say. And he's got to find the right balance. I felt that balance wasn't quite there because of the number of changes. But really, I think that's what it boils down to. Is it felt disjointed, and potentially that was because of so many changes. So I think in terms of the balance of the game. So you were asleep for the last part
only
of
for 15
the first half.
It
didn't improve much, is what I'd say. So Alex Neil has talked about them being on top through a period in the first half. I felt they were on top right from the start, and that we just did not get out of bed. We did not get going. And that runs throughout the entire team. I've seen some people today talk about how well Rutter played. I didn't see it. Now, a lot of people say that's because I'm biased and I hate him. I don't hate him. I love the fact that recently he's been enjoying his football. But he was poor. But I think from 1 to 11, Pirot was pretty much anonymous. He did very little. Gruev didn't get in the game. Anthony gave the ball away as much as he got it. And Willie Nonto was largely ineffective as well. But then you look at the back where we've been quite solid and we've had that bit of a base to build from in the majority of games. Maybe not most recently, but in the majority of games. And I felt, that Rodon Strike partnership wasn't brilliant. We speak about Gray, and clearly he's not a fullback. But even Byram, who I thought was probably our better performer on the night, was largely anonymous and he was a bit inconsistent. He didn't get involved in much in terms of attack. So that leaves Melier, who got beat by a corner again. So
bit of a shit way to concede, though. It would have shamed that, really.
It is, and we will come on to that individual. But there were one person whose man did score the goal, and he was playing in at number 9 at that time. But equally, he had 3 people to pick up. So clearly, there's a balance wrong there as well. So that's the first half, and I thought on reflection that we got in at half time quite lucky to be 0-0. And it was a case of, I hope they get a rocket up them because they need it. And I think I saw a lot of that on Twitter as well about, right, okay, something needs to change, changes needs to happen, and they need a rocket up them because we need to come out and we need to be flying in the second half. And that was the hope. I will just touch on one thing because you did point out that you could see that Ali check-in. Stoke's last few games have been Southampton, where they lost by 1 goal, Leicester, where they lost by 2, Sunderland, who have been playing well, where they lost by 1, and us, where they won by 1. So Sunderland, who have been playing well, and the 3 relegated teams from the Premier League have been their last 4 games. Now, if you look on balance of the the results rather than the performances, they looked abject going into that. But when you put a spin on it, that actually that's one side that's been playing really well, that they did beat, and then the 3 relegated Premiership teams from last season, actually, maybe that's a little bit unfair because they've had a really difficult run of games.
Yeah, they've had a tough run of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think... I've said it before on today, a couple of the lads that I work with, I said I don't think their league position reflects much on their performances, like you've just alluded to slightly. I think they gave a fairly good account of themselves last night.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get into half-time, it's 0-0. Given what we've seen so far this season, did you expect any changes at half-time?
I did, yeah. If I'm honest, I have expected him to implement changes a lot earlier than he did. But when he did make the changes, I thought they had a fairly positive impact. I mean, I'm going to say Bamford looked to be playing quite well up to that point. He won a penalty. We'll probably, do that little bit that came after that, adding a little bit more depth. But no, I thought Somerville impacted the game well. Straight from the off, he was quite direct. Dan James was fairly aggressive as well. And that I think if we'd have played with that kind of formation with those players right from the off, we'd have established ourselves more in the game early on rather than leaving it to the right to the end. Because I think before the penalty, we were kind of the we were looking to actually do something. It looked more positive. The penalty miss definitely gave them a boost, and I said in one of the chats, I said that miss now is going to give them a little bit of a boost, and I think Alex Neil actually did say that it gave them a little bit of a lift and it spurred them on, and they shithoused a goal. Fair play to them, but I did expect him to make the changes a lot sooner. I'll be honest, because of such a lacklustre first half. I definitely thought we should have done it a lot earlier. Definitely,
yeah. Yeah, now I didn't expect him to make changes because I've been looking for him to make changes earlier in the season, earlier in the games, and he's not done that. Now, that's one thing. So I didn't expect him to make changes at half-time, but I did expect them by 55 to 60 minutes if the players that he'd picked for the starting 11 hadn't made that change in the second half. And I think that for me, the most disappointing thing, because I think he's spoken before about you don't want to embarrass people. Well, people have got their own view on that because actually as a professional footballer, if you're not playing well and you get taken off, is that embarrassing? Maybe, but you're supposed to then use that to be better next time.
Exactly.
So there is that, but then a manager wanting to give his players an opportunity to go and make a difference where they've not been quite good enough. I understand, I get that, and if he said that to them, go out there and show what you can do, and then it's not working. I expect that within 10, 15 minutes for him to go, do you know what? I've given you an opportunity. It's not working. I'm making the change now. And for me, it definitely wasn't working still. I think it was slightly better just after half time, but it wasn't good enough.
They were pulling up trees and they were absolutely ripping it up. That, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that they definitely affected it positively.
No.
We were better.
I am agree. I mean, before the changes. I mean, after half time and before the changes.
Oh, sorry,
we were slightly better, but not good enough. And therefore, I think that 55, 60-minute mark, that's where I was looking for the changes to be made. And we just hung on and hung on. And you could see that it wasn't working. Yeah. I think if we look at the impact that Somerville had, and let's be honest, Somerville's been flying recently. I think if you play him and one of either Nonto and Anthony, I think we're in a completely different position and a completely different scenario. And then if you're bringing Dan James on after 70 minutes for either Anthony or Willie Nonto, I think, as an impact sub, he's shown that he can get at defenders and he can scare them, especially after, 70 minutes running around after Anthony and Somerville. What you do not want to see is Dan James coming on.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the impact he can have. I was one of those that was saying, I'm okay with Bamford coming on at this point because he can affect a game with his movement and his the way that he not bullying, but he occupies both central defenders when he's on the game.
It's just his finishing. That's what lets Bamford down. It's his finishing. Neither of us have approached the subject about this yet, which we both got a town on a little bit on. But his all-round game is fine. Like you say, he pulls players out of positions. He gets into good areas of the pitch. He seems to link up well with Georgie. It's just his confidence in front of goal. I don't know if it's cursed or what. I have no idea. But that guy just cannot finish. He can't finish his dinner. And we may as well get onto it because it's a red herring in a minute. That penalty, I have no idea. I messaged you, didn't I? And I says, no way is he taking it. And this was before I'd even seen it on my video wireless. Before I'd even seen who were taking the penalty, I went, Bamford better not take this. And apparently apparently Villa had already picked up the ball, ready to just have a crack on it. And he grabbed it off him and said, no, this is mine. The guy had been on the pitch for about 7 minutes.
He'd not had a touch, I don't think.
He'd not had a touch of the ball. His record for penalties is absolutely diabolical. He's diabolical in front of goal, full stop. Yet the cheeky bastard, in such an important period of the game where we were in the ascendancy and it's an opportunity to go 1-0 and potentially bury the game, he fucking spoons it straight over at bloody bar. I would just the whole fan base. You could literally hear. It was like a radiation above Leeds. Like, what the fucking hell is this guy doing? Why is he taking this penalty? Everyone knew he were going to miss it. Everyone knew. There were not a single fucking person expected him to bury that. And I was in shock already watching him do it. I thought, he's going to miss this. He's going to miss this. Bang. And it was just like, he kind of looked at it and just went, huh. And cracked on. It's like, what are you fucking doing, man? Why is no one walking up to him, slapping him, say, Patrick, get a fucking grip of yourself. No fucking chance, son. Go get your send parked over there. Somerville, away you go, sunshine. Why? That's poor leadership. And people have asked, questions about who the next captain or potential next captain is going to be. Whether it be Cooper, obviously we won't say anything about Cooper, but if a captain there is Strike, then he needs to be accountable. He needs to walk up to him and say, listen, I don't care if I'm fucking younger than you. Get your sin pissed right off because you are not taking that. It's too important for you to fucking spoon a fucking penalty straight off at bar. It would just horrendous. So I'll say it again. I'm going to say it one more time because I've said it a few times on the podcast. He shouldn't be here anymore, Bamford. He should have gone with some kind of good grace. He should have been let go in the summer because he's no good in this team. He's no good in this team at all. He has his uses. And there's a bit of nostalgia there because he was part of the squad that went up for the Premier League and he had that nice season and he got an England cap and blah, 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 blah. But he just needs to go. He's just it's time's come for him. I think. But he won't go. He won't go anywhere. He'll still
No, he won't.
He shirt on fucking
he
halfway
won't
through
go
the
because
season.
where would you send him? Given his injury record, we'd end up in a Robbie Fowler situation, paying somebody's wages to go play somewhere else. Just to touch on one of the points there, and around Strike,
Of which there were many.
Do you think? Well, I'll add, there's a two-part question. Do you think Cooper would have told him not to? And do you think? Well, actually, I already know that what you think a captain should do, but do you think a stronger captain does?
I'd like to think that Cooper would. I would like to think that Cooper would, knowing how critical it was for us to get a goal at that point in the game, and knowing Bamford probably better than anyone else in the team. And as a captain, you'd like to think that he would have the stones to go up to him and say no. A stronger captain definitely would do, but I don't believe that we have a strong captain in and amongst that squad. They're all young lads, mostly, mid-20s. Bamford's a senior player. Again, that sort of self-righteous attitude where, no, I'm the striker, I'm number 9, I'm taking this penalty. There's no way he should have taken that fucking penalty. He's got a kind of a obnoxious attitude towards a lot of stuff, and I think that's what a lot of fans pick up on, is the fact that he seems to have some sort of really high opinion of himself. I could be wrong, it's just my opinion, but I think that's pretty widespread amongst the fan bases. I think he thinks he's weirdly better than he is. And
I think we've seen a lot of that, haven't we, over the last day or so? Since last night's game, because I think there's a certain level of arrogance that goes along with being a striker anyway, because you want to be the main man, and if you're not the main man, you're not going to be a striker.
Andy's nailed this a bit in the comments. He's saying him taking that pen was more about him than Leeds' side before self. Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
So I think there is a bit of, when you're a striker, you need to be greedy, otherwise you don't get into the position of playing professional football as a striker. You need to be a position where you want to be that main man. I think that is, and I do think you're right. I think that is where Strike needs to stand up and go, actually, I'm the captain right now. I'm in this situation where I'm saying that's not happening because I'm the leader on this pitch and I'm wearing this armband and I'm telling you you're not
saying that. This. What do you think to Scooby's comment? Scooby's saying, Pascal, good captain. Captain don't pick the pen taker. That's true.
And I think that is true. But Pirro's the penalty taker. Farke's come out and said, my penalty taker is Pirro. Now,
and he went on the pitch.
Now, so should Farke be getting involved is the other question. But the leader on the pitch is
the leader on the pitch is the captain. Yeah. And therefore, you make them decisions. You're the man on the pitch at that time. Farke's all the way over there in the dugout. You're the guy right front and foremost. You're the one who makes the decisions. And if you want to be an effective, good captain, people respect you. You make those decisions. And he didn't.
And it's the point at which they need making, and that's that's the point of having your captain. Your captain's the person that can speak to the ref. Your captain should be the person that's the strong leader on the pitch. I spent years and years. I mean, I know it's completely different. It was very amateur football, but I spent years as captain. I would have been putting myself in that position, even if it were our top scorer from last season. If he's only just come on, I'm giving it to somebody else. And I think that's I like Strike, and I think he does have a future at our club. And he's of an age where he's still got loads of developing that he can still do. Because if you think of a centre back, their peak is like late 20s up to 30 years old. Is where what their peak period tends to be. So he's got a long way to go to improve. I just think that was an opportunity for him to really show. I'm in this position and I deserve this. And it would, for me, a captain can't afford to be passive. And without wanting to labour the point too much. I feel like that's a missed opportunity for him to really set a marker out and say, I'm in control here, because it wasn't. I think there is a secondary element to say that Farke should be saying, right, okay, I've taken my penalty taker off. Now I want my team to understand who my next choice is. And I think if I'm in that position, I'll come to you after this one. But if I'm in that position, Somerville's been on fire. That's who I'm giving that ball to.
Absolutely, he's brimming with confidence. And you just know confidence is massive. I mean, like I say, we've had, brief stints at amateur level. But I was always a relatively confident penalty taker, and other lads were. And the difference between the lads brimming with confidence and the lads that were shitting themselves and being sick at side of pitch if you were in a cup final or whatever, which I've seen. You know, you're going to back the lads who are walking up there, chest puffed out, and want to smack it as hard as they can, rather than the guys who are going to probably trip up over themselves running up to frigging hit the ball. You know, it's confidence is massive.
Weird what pressure does.
Bamford doesn't have. Oh yeah, but Bamford doesn't have the confidence either. There was pressure and didn't have any confidence in front of goal. He's not effective in front of goal at this moment in time. Somerville is. Oh, hello. Am I back?
Yeah, me.
I went off.
Yep.
Yeah, I went off briefly then. It just shit itself. So yeah, Somerville's brimming with confidence. You can see that he's enjoying his football. He's got a smile on his face. Bamford looks like he's had nightmares for the last fucking 12 months solid. You can see it in his face that he's not. And he probably has done. I can only imagine I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll say what we want to say about Bamford, but at the end of the day, he's still a human being. And I'm sure he's a really, really nice lad. And I don't want to be nasty about him, but we judge people on the performances. And I'm sure that poor fucker was up all night last night, tossing and turning. You can absolutely guarantee it. Or maybe not. Maybe he's not that kind of guy, but I'm pretty certain he will be.
I think he would have been. I think it matters to him, and I think that's a salient point. It is an important point to make. And I think, the hangover that we feel from last season will compare nothing at all to the players that are still there and that actually care about the club and about doing a good job. I think, I absolutely hammered Robin Koch over the course of the two last seasons because I didn't feel he were good enough. That doesn't mean I hated him as an individual, as a person. By all accounts, he's a nice guy, but it just wasn't good enough. And I think we speak about Bamford's effectiveness, about being able to hold the ball up and whatever else. Well, do you know what? After 70 minutes, if you're 3-0 up, bring him on then. But
yeah, absolutely.
If you're chasing a goal, I mean, albeit he won the penalty, but if you're chasing a goal, then having Rutter and Bamford up front, neither of whom can fucking score a goal, is not the way to go about scoring a fucking goal.
No. And we'll come on to that a bit more in a minute about who you would probably prefer to play in the number 10. This argument's going around again, I've seen on social media. But Russ, our friend Russ, he comments and has said, Farke has said, Bamford won't take penalties again for us. Thoughts on this at Gilly and Smarty? Kind of goes back to what people have been saying in the comments. Yeah, I think he's right to make that decision. You don't want that kind of pressure on your striker if he's coming and making. You don't want him to make that decision. If you've already made it, if you've already implemented that, then there's no arguments on the pitch. There's no qualms on the pitch. This is how it's done. It's a shame it wasn't done before.
Probably a relief.
Probably, yeah. Maybe so. I mean, you don't know what's going through Bamford's head, do you? Because he might be thinking, "Oh, fucking, I don't really want to take this, but I've got to show a face here. I've got to try and show a little bit of confidence and think I'm going to do it." But you could just tell, and we can see it a mile away that he's just got no confidence. If like you say, if Farke makes that decision, just go, "You're not taking penalties anymore." He's probably just going to go, "Oh, thank God for that."
Yeah, because he will have seen that actually was his job. To step up and take it last night. I know this side before self and the comments that we've had, but he's been put on there to go on and play at 9. So he'll see that it's his job to score goals. And he might not. When you were saying about puff your chest out and step up and be a confident penalty taker, there were times. So I never missed a pen. I didn't take that many, but I never missed one. But when I was stepping up, there were times that inside I was just in complete turmoil. But you just don't let that show, because you let that show and keep his job done.
Absolutely.
So you don't let that show. So he might have looked confident stepping up, and I think actually he looked all right stepping up to it. I think we were all going, "Oh fuck, not you. Why are you doing that?" But he won. But inside, I imagine he was in absolute turmoil. But I think that what Farke has done there is take pressure off him, because he's in that situation where he feels like it has to be him. And so I think that's pretty decent management to just come out and make it clear in no uncertain terms, right? That's it. And I've not seen it, so I'm
we're relying on Russ. We are relying on Russ.
But Russ is a reliable individual. I do believe him, and he was right in what he said. Beren had quoted as well, but I will be honest, I didn't see Somerville going, no, I want this.
No, I didn't.
I didn't pick up any of that. So it's but there's a lot goes on a pitch, and cameras only pick up certain bits of it, so you never really know. So but I think maybe not positives out of the game, but positives in general is we are in third, and
yes.
We're in a position where it's not even the end of October yet. And as I say, nobody's promoted, nobody's relegated in October. It just doesn't happen. So, it is a long old season, and it's another game of this squad. I think I can't remember the exact quote, but I think Bielsa once spoke about you learn more from a defeat than a win you didn't deserve.
Absolutely, I was going to say the same thing. He'll have learned more about his squad last night than he will have done in the last couple of weeks. 100%. Selection with players, how players react to them sort of situations, and it will tell a lot. And the good thing about the championship is that we can bounce back. That'll have been yesterday's news. Well, it literally is yesterday's news, but they won't have been thinking about that. They won't be dwelling on that too much now. The next, as soon as they walk through the door at Thorpe Arch, is right. It's Huddersfield next on Saturday. It's literally the day after tomorrow. So I don't think they'll have dwelled on it too much. And hopefully not, and hopefully they can turn it around, and we can make amends on Saturday against Town. But yeah, there's a lot of overreactory people on Twitter, a lot of very upset people, and understandably, it's never nice to take a defeat like that, especially against a team that you would expect to get 3 points from. But
I agree with that. I do agree with that, and Twitter can be a cesspit at the best of times. But and I don't want to bang on about him all the time, although I will always miss him. But I think one of the other things that Bielsa said is you never take too much from a win, and don't take defeats too hard either, because being too far either way just doesn't work. No. So I think it is that bit of we had a bad day at the office. And we're just in a position where that's going to happen. There's going to be a bit of variability in our output and our product. It's just, it is good, actually. It's a quick turnaround to the next game. I don't think that's a negative. So, yeah, I think in terms of the actual lineup and the team and so on, we touched on all of that. I think the changes were okay. I was a bit surprised that Gray didn't come off at all. So just the one thing I want to say there, I mean, in terms of the position he's been playing, we saw him play really, really well in midfield. And I think his output while at fullback has been variable at best. It's not his position.
Limited. Yeah,
it has been limited. And I was surprised to see him stay on through the entire game. But in terms of the changes, we brought Ayling on and left Gray on. We do have a right back there. And I know that Gruev had struggled as well. But in terms of the numbers of games that Archer's played, I was really worried we were going to burn him out. And then we've just carried on playing him. He went away and played.
And he's been quite critical about how much time he's been playing as well. And then for him to kind of hypocritically play him in that right back position, it's just like, why not use friggin'... If we're doing squad rotation, then why aren't you putting Shackleton in at right back? Why are you playing Gray more and more and more? Because you can guarantee he'll start on Saturday. The guy he's a break. Yeah, he's 17, and we've said, before on here, he should be running around like, for days being a 17. But that much training, that much game time, it takes a hell of a hit on your body. And, like I say, go back to this squad rotation thing, you should be playing Shackleton. Change it around a bit. Because he's good. He's effective. He's effective at right back as Shackleton. He does a good job.
Yeah, so, and Farker said that Kamara was struggling fitness-wise in terms of being ready for the game. It was just a couple of days too early for him. Well, fine then. Don't play him. Put Gray in the middle if you're going to play Gray and play Shackleton instead. And I get, the Gruev piece. I get wanting to give him game time, but you were right early on in the pod where you were saying we've only seen cameos from him. Is that enough for him to be given a starting berth? And I think, to be honest, the answer is no.
And a hell of a game to come back into when the whole team isn't performing as it should do. You know, the guy's going to get
multiple other changes.
Exactly. He looks lost, and rightly so, because a lot of the team did. So,
yeah.
Like I say, you can't dwell on it too much, can you?
No, that's fair. So I'm just going to spin through some comments, and then we'll do a little bit of looking forward. So Skip's with us. Many of the fans have supported Bamford this long, and in the ground last night, many fans have openly said that's it with Bamford. Hope we can get him gone in January. Whole team were lethargic. 3 main points there. I think it's right to say that a lot of fans have supported Bamford. I think if Bamford comes on at Elland Road, he'll still get supported.
Absolutely.
I just do. I think in terms of getting gone in January, for the reasons we've already mentioned, I can't see it.
No one will want to buy him, especially when he's putting for sale sign up like that. You know, oh, buy me. I do this a lot. You know, it's like no, I'm all right, mate.
But you know, we'd end up paying his wages for him to be somewhere else, and I would still rather have him as a member of the squad than pay his wages and not have it. Yeah. For those times when we are 3-0 up and we can make changes and bring him on and occupy defenders rather than chase a goal. And then whole team with lethargic, I think, is the main point. Yeah. We didn't lose last night because of one player. We lost last night because the entire team performed poorly.
I tweeted last night that it will be a shame that Bamford will basically bear the brunt of that loss, because he will do, because of what impact that penalty miss had on the game. But on a whole, the whole team was shy, you know, and unfairly it will rest on Bamford's shoulders. But, you know, shit happens. I'm sure he's big enough to take it, innit?
Well, we've seen that he is. He's had pelters a lot of times. So we've seen
you have to admire him to a degree, because he just doesn't seem to give a fuck. And as much as it winds us up, you know, it's a bit like, oh, fuck you. Fair enough.
I just hope that what happens is that it doesn't end up going overboard like it did last time around his family and whatever else. You know, that would a bit of pill. And that's not right. So I just hope that, because it does offend people that it doesn't seem to get wound up by it. You know, it's water off a duck's back. But any sports psychologist to tell you that's exactly what you should do. Let that go. It's gone. You can't change that now. Get on with it and do what you can. So anyway, we'll see.
Old news.
Yeah. Liam B, it was an average performance last night. I was surprised with the lineup. Yeah. Can't say any different there. Mr. Dodo's with us. Good evening. Bamford needs to go for everyone's sake. If Elisa don't moan every time he laces his boots, then the dickhead fans don't abuse him. Win-win for everyone. I'm not certain that's a win for Bamford, but I get the point.
Yeah.
Liam agrees with Smarty. That's always dangerous. Don't change a winning team, though. Is the theme.
I mean, it's a common saying. A lot of people say it, you know. You just make those implement changes later on in the game if you think that players are getting a little bit leggy, or maybe change one position. To change a complete, that middle section of Nonto, Gruev, and Anthony, a bit of a gamble, really.
It is. You know, it is. I agree with
that. We're saying this with hindsight, because if it had worked, Fark could have been a genius, you know. So
that's the job, though.
Exactly.
That's the job he does. So, and the job we do. I mean, we don't get paid salaries for doing this, but no, we get paid. We don't get paid, but we turn up and talk shit about it. So there. Do you think Bamford is? So this is Skip again. Do you think Bamford's becoming a liability with his stubbornness and senior player seniority? Do you want to pick that one?
Do you think Bamford is becoming a liability with his stubbornness and senior player seniority? I think we've pretty much, you know, talked about this enough, where we think, you know, there's multiple options. Whether it's him, whether it's his teammates might, you know, be giving him maybe a false sense of I don't know what the right terminology to use. I don't know. Is it the team? Is it Bamford? Is it Farker? There's so many things to consider, but I would have thought so. I think, you know, to be a number 9, and you hear about, you know, when you listen to professional sportsmen, regardless of what sport you were playing in, athletics, anything, they'll all say that you have to have a bit of stubbornness, you have to have a bit of cocky, you've got to think that you're the best at what you do. And he probably will take a little bit of that with him. You know, he's at the end of the day, he's played for Leeds in the Premier League for 3 seasons, he's been called up to England. You know, there's a certain level of pedigree. We're not seeing that at the minute, but he probably has a right, maybe not to us, but, you know, on the whole, on paper, he probably has a right to be quite stubborn. But yeah, I think we've covered that enough, to be honest.
Yeah, but something else that we covered was the lack of leadership.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
I think if you're in a different, I think we both had an agreement that we would both have given the ball to Jimmy and said, stick that in back at net.
Yeah.
But if you don't have somebody that's playing with confidence and the entire team is down, look at how we were playing towards the end with Marsh, and you've got a side there, none of whom have performed particularly well recently, and so on. You are going to need the senior players to stand up and take responsibility, and actually that's what we've been lacking. So the output,
I think that's why Fark's so keen to keep players like Cooper and Ayling around. And Dallas is a massive figure in the changing room as well, apparently still, which is good. But Bamford is a senior player and he is in and around it. But
you do need some of that. You need a mix.
You do need it. You do need a bit of seniority, of course you do. A bit of experience, because that's what he's got. He's got plenty of experience. Whatever we think about him and his performances, he comes with bags of experience, especially at the championship level, does Bamford.
Yeah, agreed. Scooby wanted rotation, and he would like to see Perot as a sub con last 30. So I think the rotation piece, I think, is fair. As I've said 3 or 4 times already on just this pod, it's a long old season. I think Perot, for me, is not somebody I'd like to see as a sub, because I think he's not somebody that's going to come on and have that level of impact.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't want to get into the 9-10 who's going to play what. I don't want to get into it. We've heard Farker's mind.
He's already, he's already covered it himself on one of their journalists and
he has
conferences or whatever. So
I don't really want to get into that too much, but I think from a Perot perspective, we've seen that he scored goals at this level. I think that he's a little bit ineffectual in terms of the overall game. So even if he's scoring goals, he doesn't seem to affect games that much. And I think that's, for me, that's why I would look to start him rather than bringing him on as a sub, because he's not somebody that he's going to come on and impact a game particularly much. Now, he might score a goal, but actually he's one of those that can score a goal at any time, because we've seen him do that. But he's not somebody that's going to come on and change the pattern of a game. Yeah. And he needs that creating for him. He doesn't seem to be somebody that'll create it himself.
Or a non-toe or something like that. There's no dynamism in his performances. He's just a stone wall. Not a tapping merchant, because that's unfair, because he's good on the ball. He's clever. But again,
he does score all kinds of goals, doesn't he?
That's what I'm saying. He pings them in. His last goal were pinged in from edge at box or whatever. So you know that you do got a kind of a plethora of different kinds of goals from him. It's just getting him that opportunity and having that much time. And I think when we're playing well, Pirot plays well, and you see him. When we don't, he goes missing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I do.
Yeah.
That's fair. Andy asks, do you think Farker's trying things away so that he can pick our best side at home?
To a degree. I think he's still finding, obviously that's why you do rotation. You see how well your players do with different setups, don't you? We're not managers, but it's plain to see that by him doing the rotation and playing, Gruev's, he's never started before, but he did last night. See how he gets on. Probably not the best game for him to start in, like I say, because we were oiled, we were ticking, we were playing well at all, were we? So it's a difficult one. I suppose you get a bit more of an idea how they'll do in the league, rather than, I suppose, starting him in a cup game, because there are so many changes implemented in cup games. I don't think you really see how well your team will play with them sort of players playing. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? We can surmise and we can guess and we can talk until we're blue in the face. Who knows? At the end of the day, it's a long old season. It's cram-packed with frigging fixtures, and we've got squad depth, and you need to use that squad depth. And you'll either sink or swim. So, you need to be used at some point.
Yeah, I agreed. But I do think there's more pressure to win at home.
You
know what?
Yeah.
If you're going to lose the odd game in the Championship, do it away from home and pick up the points at home, because I think that's where you've seen sides be promoted. I mean, other than us, where we won all over the place and won the league at a canter by 10, 11 points, whatever it was. But it's not often, actually, you see sides just go on runs like Leicester and like Ipswich from start to finish all season. It's not.
They're bound to have a drop in form, though. Of course,
they are.
course.
So it is home form that's actually critical for us. And I think if we're going to drop points anywhere, then I'd rather do it away than at home, especially in these periods where the games are regular, so that you can amend it and you're not I'd rather lose now and then win on Saturday and go into the Leicester game with the win behind us, or losing just before the international break, and then throughout the international break, that's the last performance that you had. You're only as good as your last performance.
Exactly.
I think there is a lot to be said for that. I'm going to take issue with this one. Georgie was class again last night. He could teach defenders how to tackle. I don't think. I think this has just been said to get up my nose, because one, I don't think he is class, and two, I really struggle to believe genuinely anybody thinks that anyone was class last night.
Yeah, I think that might be. It might be an over-exaggeration saying it was class. He did a lot of good things. I mean, you've got your opinions on players, like I've got my opinions on players, like everyone. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. We've said this many times.
And everybody else stinks.
Yes, absolutely. But I think he does a lot of quality things, Rutter, and he plays well. I love how gangly he looks on the ball, but so assured, so strong, and he implements so many different techniques as well. He's weird. I've never seen a player like him kind of before. But to say he was class last night in and amongst all that performance is probably a bit of a far-fetch. But he does a lot of good things. But like I've already said, one player seemed to do something good and then he'd be let down by the person who had the ball next. And that might be usually Rutter will pass it to someone, Jadon Anthony maybe, and he'll completely spoon it or lose the ball. The possession will get turned over. And yeah, I think he played all right. Probably one of the few players that did half well.
I mean, for me, I don't think anybody was above a 5. And I think the only one that actually attained a 5 for me was Byram.
I thought Pascal did all right.
Other than, I didn't think that Pascal or Rodon played particularly well.
And Melier, actually. I thought Melier did all right. But the whole fragility at the back.
By your corner again.
Yeah, I know. But like I say, we seem to be either quality at the back or they just did. Like I say, it was so fragile. Sometimes it's quite shocking. Yeah. Whenever the ball's in open play, I'm 100% confident that we'll deal with it. That we'll break up the play, or it'll end up in go to nothing. However, from a set piece, it's like someone's flicked a switch and I think, oh, fucking hell, there's a good chance we'll concede here.
Especially against Stoke. I mean, Stoke have been masters of this for 30 years.
I know. He's just mental, innit?
But I'm just going to say it's not even an opinion. No one was class last night. I'm not having any of that at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fair enough.
Skip, we struggle with the basics and Stoke deserve the 3 points. I'm just going to move on to the next one because that's absolutely right. And you can't add much to that. Danny, I think you know Danny as well, don't you? I grew up with Danny.
I know Danny, right. I know Danny.
You would have been at school with him, wouldn't you? Danny says, pray for me. I'm out for a meal with my dad on Saturday night and he's a Town fan. Hopefully goes our way, MOT. I mean,
there's a lot. See, I work in Dodge in Brighouse, and it's a very, very even split between Huddersfield and Leeds over there. And every single Town fan I've spoken to expect to get a hiding on Saturday.
Oh, no.
So, no, I know. And this is why I'm saying it, because you can just guarantee they'll end up fucking turning us over and then we will really implode as a fucking fan base. Jesus Christ. Any fucking club to lose to, it's not Huddersfield and it's not fucking Sheffield Wednesday at this moment in time. I can take a loss to Rotherham because I don't, Rotherham are like, yeah, whatever. But Barnsley, Wednesday, Town, Hull City, fucking hell.
Bradford.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, well, we haven't played them for a long time, have we? I think we played them in Cup about 5-6 years ago that we lost to. Bastard. But yeah, it's going to be a rough Monday. In fact, I might book Monday off.
It's going to be a rough night for Danny
just in case.
A lot of the football I played, we were based out of Murfield, and that were an even split as well. There were a lot of worried dogs around at times. I think it is one of them where, other than some of the fans that I've known, actually, I don't give a shit about Town. I don't give a shit about their club at all. It means nothing to me. It's just the fans, if they get a result against us, will keep chelping for months. That's the only bit really that gets to me. So. And just the last comment that we've starred, Russ is with us. Somerville can't play 3 games a week due to carrying an injury, and Kamara needed a rest according to Farker. Do you know what? A manager's got to play the cards he's dealt with at times, and if players are unavailable, they're unavailable. So, I mean, that might be fair enough, but one way to have some consistency, if you have to bring Gruev in or what have you, is, bring Gray into midfield, and at least you've got 2 players in there with him that have been playing. So I don't know ways and means. So those are the starred comments. Just one other one I wanted to pull out as well was Al's with us as well. Farkas used the squad last night simply didn't work. Either one of James or some of us to start against the better sides. Both will. I think we didn't see it last night. I think Anthony's got a lot to offer, and I think he's done well at this level with Bournemouth as well. And obviously, Willie Nonto coming back from injury. I don't think that Dan James is going to start the big games if all of our wingers are available. I just don't. But how he deals with, if he's in a position where he's got Pirro and Bamford and Rutter and James and Anthony and Somerville and Nonto, there's 3 or 4 positions and there's 7 or 8 players that are going for them in terms of the people that you see playing regularly, let alone the fringe players. So it's not an easy one for him to balance, but that's why he's on the mega bucks, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we've kind of strayed on to the dog botherers. So just because we're in a situation where this is the last podcast we'll do before that one, and it wasn't really covered on the main podcast, I just wanted us to look forward. So anybody, whoever's first in the comments, let's give us a prediction. So question for you first, before we get into that, though, is, 1, what changes do you expect to see? Given
are you listing the questions, or do I just go one at a time? Changes I would expect to see a more normal starting lineup. I think the only one that I would expect to see perhaps is changing Gray out for maybe Shackleton. I think Gray's more than earned a break, but then again, it's Farker. He'll probably say, "Oh, he needs more rest," and then he'll start him anyway. I think Somerville and James.
You don't think Ayling will play, given his history against them?
I don't know. Probably either one. Either one or the other should probably start, but Gray will probably end up starting anyway. So that's a tough one. It's a tough one to call as the right back. But I think Somerville and James come back in to start on Saturday. I'd like to see that happen. Like I say, Rutter will probably maintain at 9 and Pirro at 10, and then I don't think it'll really largely change from there. I think Somerville and Dan James come back into the lineup with Kamara in the middle with Mr. Ampadu. Yeah,
and same centre back, same left back, same keeper.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's exactly what I'm thinking. No, to say that's the number of changes we said shouldn't have been made against Stoke that we're making going into the next game.
Yeah.
But
that's it.
That's it. Okay, so putting you on the pressure, putting you on the pressure, putting you on the spot and adding some pressure. Yeah, go on. Let's have it.
Fucking hell. Do you know what? I'm going to go 2-0 Leeds.
Going with the fans.
Oh, the fans gone 2-0 as well. I missed that.
Yeah, Liam B. So I'm thinking we score more than that, but I'm thinking we don't.
Really? Well, a lot of people thought we'd beat Stoke 4-0.
Well, that's true. But I've gone 3-1. So same goal difference, but I'm just not confident that we'll keep the ball out from set pieces.
Yeah.
So, cool. So, in a really strange turn of events, actually, it is you and I that are on the next BNC as well. So,
of course,
unfortunately, for all of the fans, followers, people in the comments, whatever
viewers.
they are, viewers, the people that have joined in,
our friends,
our friends. You're going to have to put up with us again for the next one as well,
yes,
I'm afraid.
You are.
So.
Yes, unfortunately for you guys. I just wanted to pull up this comment by Bully. Bully sits behind me. Only recently, mind, but he sits behind me at Ellen Road. And he says, Smarty looks a small man on YouTube, but you have to stand on your tiptoes to oversee him in the south stand. It doesn't obviously go into the fact that he's only about 5 foot himself.
Yeah, but you can't have a Swede like yours and be
well,
short.
the thing is, right, everyone takes piss out of my massive loaf, and it is a massive loaf, don't get me wrong, but I'm all in proportion.
Not all.
Set me tallywhacker, that just smells big. But we'll say no more on that subject. Sorry, everyone.
Thanks for that. Do you know what? I'm going to say any final comments, but I think you're done.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for getting involved in the comments as ever. Thanks for all your likes, your follows, your subscribes, all of that stuff. And we'll see you again at the weekend
Sunday morning
to do all this all over again. Yeah, it probably will be Sunday morning, won't it? So we'll get into it then. Thanks, Smarty, and thanks everybody else. See you soon.
There it is. See you later.